Well, our fourth story out front, new evidence in the case of a Connecticut man who disappeared while on his honeymoon in 2005. And you probably remember this story. The evidence now points to foul play. George Smith and his wife, Jennifer, were on a cruise in the Aegean Sea when they went separate ways after a night of partying. Jennifer said she never saw her husband again. His body has never been found. But now, a videotape made by a group of men who helped Smith to his room the night he vanished is giving the FBI some fresh leads. Out front tonight, George Smith's sister, Bree Smith, and the family's lawyer, Mike Jones. And good to see both of you. And Bree, let me start with you. What do you know or have you heard about what you've seen in this video? What is new?
Well, we haven't actually seen the video, but from what we've gathered, it's a group of the Russian men that were last seen with my brother sitting around a table. And apparently, during the course of their discussions, one of them makes an incriminating remark.
About something about your brother, that
Yes.
he was with him or what happened to him?
Yes, that's right.
And Mike, you spoke to the men. You did depositions.
I took their depositions.
You took their
That's correct,
depositions.
yeah.
Does this surprise you that this is happening or that you hadn't seen this before?
Well, I actually found out about the tape about a year ago, and I found out in conjunction with a turnover of evidence by Royal Caribbean to us in connection with the settlement of a lawsuit against them. And I was on a phone conversation with one of their in-house counsel, and all of a sudden he mentioned this tape, which I hadn't heard about, and it certainly hadn't come out in the depositions. There had been just talk in one of the depositions about videotaping the things that they had done on the ship, but it was more in reference to sightseeing. But then when
this was the Russians themselves, right? Taking a videotape of themselves on their trip.
They were filming themselves, yes. And apparently they were filming everything that they did, including what turned out to be an alleged sexual assault a couple of nights after George died. So these kids basically filmed everything they did.
And what were they like in the deposition? I mean, what are these people? I mean, obviously, it's horrific what we know on the tape, whether this ends up being something that they did as well, but...
Well, it's interesting because I took 4 depositions. One was of Josh Askin, the young California man who was hanging out with the so-called Russians. And in his deposition for 40 minutes, he took the Fifth Amendment, invoked the Fifth Amendment. So he didn't answer anything. And then I took Zachary Rosenberg's deposition, and he alternated between taking the Fifth Amendment and answering some of the questions. Rusty Kaufman gave a lot more information, but there was a lot of talk about, I just don't remember, which is interesting because it was a seminal moment in his life. And then Greg Rosenberg was very chatty, and I took his deposition in the Florida State Penitentiary because he was in there for a 3-year stint on drug trafficking. So he was talking about everything and anything, but unfortunately he sort of rambled along, and he even got into discussions about polygraphs and failed polygraphs.
Bree, do you think that this could be the answer that you've been looking for? I mean, had you come to terms with never knowing, or always believed there was something and foul play involved?
Oh, we knew from day one that there was foul play involved, but we always believed that we would have justice. It's just unfortunately taken longer than we expected. But we think that this is perhaps the missing puzzle piece that the authorities have been waiting for, and this in conjunction with the evidence that we've amassed through the years, hopefully this will bring arrests. That's what we're hopeful for at this point.
I mean, how do you feel that you've got to be so frustrated that this tape's been there? They had it a year ago and they didn't hear this. I mean,
it's frustrating, but we're also in the process of trying to transfer the case from the District of Connecticut to the Southern District of New York, and we hope that with new fresh eyes from the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office looking at the evidence, they may come to a different conclusion.
Are you frustrated? I mean, I know that George's wife was, for a while, a suspect. I know that was something you never thought was the case. I mean, do you think that they lost valuable time and weren't maybe looking other places because of that?
I'm not sure. I know that she was the suspect in Turkey, but from the evidence that Royal Caribbean provided to us, she was actually not with the Royal Caribbean cruise employee, Lloyd Botha, as was first discussed.
Right.
So when we actually got that information from Royal Caribbean, we transferred our focus from Jennifer and Lloyd Botha, the Royal Caribbean employee, to the 4 men last seen with my brother.
All right, well, we're hoping that this will bring an answer and closure. Thanks so much to both of you.
Thanks for having us on.
And still out front, a man